Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Post with BP. I'm your host, Billy Parvatam. Folks, I'm so excited for my favorite podcast of the year, the Super Bowl preview podcast, Super Bowl 58 between the Chiefs and the 49ers. And for my favorite podcast of the year, where we talk about the Super Bowl, we talk about the bets we're going to place and pick the game. I got my favorite guys on the podcast, none other than the Betting Mafia. We call ourselves, that's our group chat, joined by Cory Van Dyke, Bassam Ghali, and Shamar Parker for the second straight year. Always have a fun time talking sports and bets with the boys on over text, and now we get to do it over the podcast. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Let's jump right into it. Super Bowl 58 this Sunday between the Chiefs and the 49ers, a rematch of Super Bowl 54 where the Chiefs won by the score of 31-20. So many great storylines. You got so many great players in the game. You got Patrick Mahomes. You got Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy. You've got the star skills players, Travis Kelce, Deebo Samuel, and so on and so forth. So many great storylines. I'll go to you first, Cory Van Dyke. What is the biggest storyline you think in Super Bowl 58?
Well, you didn't even mention her. It's Taylor Swift. No, I'm just kidding. It is not Taylor Swift. She is a big storyline. But no, I mean, you started at the top there. I think it is Patrick Mahomes, him leading the Chiefs back to another Super Bowl in a year where they honestly looked down throughout the regular season. Had to go on the road for the first time in his postseason career. And, he pulled a rabbit out of the hat multiple times, it felt like, when everyone was doubting them, doubting the Chiefs, doubting that wide receivers that they had, doubting the weapons that they had around him. He was still able to get this team back to the Super Bowl. So I think him and just the run that he's been on, obviously, on all the talk shows and whatnot, people are already starting to say, is he the GOAT? Can he be the GOAT? This would obviously be a huge step towards potentially becoming that one day if he were to win it again this year.
But Sam, who do you think is under the most pressure to win? I mean, I think about it. I think you've got four guys you can really look at: Kyle Shanahan, Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, and of course Andy Reid. I'm going to go with Kyle Shanahan. Here's a guy who's been hyped up as boy genius. He's one of the best coaches in the game. He's been there a few times, the Super Bowl once, NFC Championship games. He went to the Super Bowl with the Falcons as the offensive coordinator, and that's when they choked to the Patriots 28-3. I'm going to say Kyle Shanahan because of kind of all of the resume that he has, but he hasn't had the ring yet. Whereas Brock Purdy, he's under pressure, but this is really his second, year starting. He's Mr. Irrelevant. I think the fact that he made the Super Bowl, people will give him a little bit of a pass. So I'm going Kyle Shanahan. What do you think? Who's the guy under the most pressure you think to win on Sunday?
Yeah, my first thought's also Kyle. I mean, he's been there with the Falcons, obviously, and then once with the 49ers where they kind of blamed the quarterback play. But since you took care of talking about that one, I do think Brock Purdy's under a lot of pressure, only because there's still so many doubters. I'm not chief among them, but I have, even up until recently, still trying to get my mind around Mr. Irrelevant being a Super Bowl winning quarterback. That sounds like a little bit of a stretch. A lot of people give the credit to Kyle Shanahan, give it to the scheme, give it to the offense. The truth is he is making throws that Jimmy wasn't making. But if there's a moment like Jimmy Garoppolo had where there's a guy streaking deep and it's the difference in the game and he doesn't make the throw, he's going to get the same criticism all over again. So if he wants to cement himself as more than just a system quarterback or a game manager, he's going to have to go out there and take it from Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Yeah, Brock Purdy with a 4-1 playoff record, but the one loss is when he got knocked out against the Eagles last year, and the 49ers essentially had no quarterback for the fourth quarter of that game. Shamar, as you look at the Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas, who do you think are some of the biggest storylines here?
Yeah, I think I would just have to go with what Corey says. Basically, just winning this next Super Bowl, puts him pretty much in the GOAT talks. And if it is of being the 49ers, they finally got over that edge. They've been waiting for a long time to get that Super Bowl. Just heartbreak after heartbreak. So it's going to be interesting to see, where the narrative goes with who wins.
Yeah, a couple other facts about the Super Bowl. It's the first Super Bowl played in Nevada, the first Super Bowl since Super Bowl 55 to have a defending champion, also the Chiefs. If the Chiefs win, it would be the first repeat champion in almost 20 years since the Patriots did it back in 2003 and 2004. Third straight Super Bowl in the Western United States following LA and Glendale, Arizona. For the 49ers, it's their 8th Super Bowl appearance. They're trying to become the third team to win 6 Super Bowls, joining the Patriots and Shamar Steelers, although the Niners have not won since 1995. And the Chiefs are in their 6th Super Bowl appearance. They're 4th in the last 5 seasons. They're trying to become, like I said, the first repeat champion in almost 20 years. Regardless, whoever wins will still have less Super Bowls than Tom Brady. And that's where I wanted to go next, Corey. And obviously, you talked about it. There's been a lot of talk. Mahomes is already the GOAT. He's definitely in the conversation. Where do you have Mahomes currently in the GOAT conversation? And do you think if he wins this, he's the GOAT? Or, where do you stand on Mahomes, Brady, and where Mahomes is right now?
I mean, it really is just so hard to tell because, Mahomes, what is this? Only his 6th or 7th year, maybe even less than I don't have that research off the top of my head, but he still has a long career ahead of him, needless to say. And, it's hard to compare guys when they haven't had a full career. And, Brady obviously has at this point. So, I think it's clear that Mahomes isn't there yet. He doesn't have the 6 rings. He doesn't have, all the accolades that Brady has, done over the years. In New England and in Tampa Bay at the end there. But obviously, like I said, I think this is another kind of stepping stone towards that conversation. That'll probably be the first thing that would lead First Take and all those other shows, on Monday morning. Is Patrick Mahomes the GOAT? If he goes out there and, throws 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, and he leads the Chiefs to a Super Bowl, that's going to be the conversation that people are going to start having again. He's done it this many years in a row now. What is this, fourth out of the last 5 years that he's been in a Super Bowl. He just continues to get it done year after year. And I think this is honestly the most impressive run. Having to go on the road, beating the Ravens last week, beating the Bills the week before. If you would have asked me, I would have said he would have lost both of those games. But here he is, just keeps getting it done.
But Sam, what do you think about that? And the only thing I would add on to that is I think it also depends on how you view the conversation. Because if you're talking most accomplished in terms of championships, obviously it's no question Brady has 7. But you think about it in basketball, we never say Bill Russell is the GOAT, even though he has 11 championships. So that's the only thing I would add to that is that, people are saying, Mahomes has to win X amount of rings. Well, we never say it's just rings. It's a combination of things. So where do you think Mahomes is right now? And let's just say if he's not the GOAT, how many rings do you think? Do you think he has to win 8 to surpass Brady, or do you think maybe it's less than that? And obviously with the numbers and other factors, he would be the GOAT after that. What do you think, Bassam, he would have to do for that?
Yeah, I definitely don't think he's the GOAT. I think it's a big hold our horses. We don't even know if he's going to win on Sunday, so everyone's already like trying to put a crown on the man. But he's got to go get it done against a 1 seed, the 1 seed in the NFC. A team that's looked better wire to wire the entire year. So no, I don't think he's there now. I'm a big fan and proponent of longevity. I think what LeBron James is doing is nuts. I think the fact that he's 39 on the cusp of 40, he'll probably be playing 40, 41, maybe 42. Like, I think that is a big accomplishment because most guys don't make it. Like, how many guys in football are making it to 32, 35, 37, let alone Tom Brady having a Hall of Fame borderline career in his 40s. So I just think there's too much unknown for Patrick Mahomes. Like, Tom Brady had, won 3 in 4 years, and then it was a 10-year gap till he won the next one. We don't know what's going to be happening in the AFC next year, the year after. Maybe Joe Burrow comes back healthy. Maybe John Harbaugh does something in the Chargers. Like, I think it's, yeah. I personally think I'd be surprised if this reign of dominance for the Chiefs continues. I even think this may be their last shot. Andy Reid's talking about retiring. And the team this year wasn't that good. Like, clearly they had a championship defense from beginning to end, but 5 losses, 6 losses, that's not typical for them. It could be even more next year.
Shamar, where do you think Mahomes stands in the GOAT conversation? And the only thing I say I think that's different than, say Mahomes, Brady, and LeBron and Jordan is that Mahomes and Brady actually faced each other. Brady beat him in the Super Bowl and the playoffs in the AFC Championship game, although D Ford being offsides actually was a big part of that. But where do you think Shamar Mahomes is on the GOAT conversation?
I'd say top 10 regardless, win or lose. Win, I think he'll be creeping up there, around getting close to the top 5 quarterbacks all time. So, yeah, win or lose, I know he'll probably be top 10 since he's, been able to consistently go to Super Bowl this young in his career. And if he wins, I would definitely say, like, he's up there with some of the best for sure, but probably not the best just yet.
And Corey, are the Niners in danger of becoming sort of like the 90s Bills? I mean, you think about it, the Bills made 4 straight Super Bowls, weren't able to win one. The Niners in the last couple of years have made a Super Bowl that they probably should have won the first one against the Chiefs. They lost the NFC Championship game against the Rams when they were up 10 late in the second half. They lost last year, although, again, I mean, no quarterbacks in the fourth quarter. That's got to be a big factor why they lost. So, do you think there's I mean, obviously, I think the answer is yes. Obviously, the Niners have more pressure to win than the Chiefs, but it just seems like, man, if the Niners don't win this year, you're kind of feeling like it's a 90s Bill situation where they seem to be in it every year, but haven't been able to pull it off yet.
No, I would agree. And before I go into that, you just have to say it's funny how, we're in a Super Bowl show and, we couldn't go without Bassam mentioning LeBron in there. But no, it's true. I agree that, if the Niners don't get it done this year, like you said, I think that's, you have to start looking yourself in the mirror and like, is this ever going to happen? Like you mentioned last year, the fluke injury in the NFC Championship. That was obviously devastating because they had an amazing team that year. I had picked them to beat the Eagles that game and everything. The year before that they should have gone to the Super Bowl again. They were up on the Rams in that NFC Championship before Stafford led a drive at the end there that was bailed out by a dropped interception right before that. They were up 10 going into the fourth quarter of that first Super Bowl against the Chiefs. People forget that a lot. They were up 10 points and they got outscored 21-0 in that fourth quarter against the Chiefs to lose that Super Bowl. And, that's with a Jimmy G led offense and kind of looking at the weapons that they had then. You would say, obviously now a lot of those guys have grown into, premier names, the Debo Samuels, the Brandon Ayuk's, the George Kittles, even adding a guy like CMC now that they didn't have back then. It's a lot to continually have these guys year after year and to not get it done. So I think there's a lot of pressure on them. This is kind of feels different even though this year too, because you could make an argument that they should have lost the first 2 games. They were losing to the Packers. They were losing big time to the Lions, but they found a way to survive and advance. It kind of just feels like that team that survives and advances, and it might just be their time this year.
This is a question I want all of you guys to answer. Who's going to be an X factor in this game, but Sam? I mean, you think about it, a lot of skill players, like I mentioned, Travis Kelce, Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, CMC, of course. So if there's one guy maybe on both teams you think has the chance to be the biggest X factor in the game, who would you say would be those guys?
For the Chiefs, I'd have to go Chris Jones. I mean, that defense has been their bread and butter all season. Usually my favorite position, like to study to judge a lot of my picks on, is the O line. But both these teams have very mediocre middle attack O lines, actually, even with some maybe individual names sticking out. But so I think Chris Jones will have an opportunity to be a game changer, to be a game wrecker. We saw the difference in the season, like first 6 games. I think they didn't have him, and when they brought him in, finally got the contract dispute, he came in and they started winning again at a high clip. So he's a game changer. Like I don't think he's going to win MVP for if the Chiefs get done, but Purdy's kind of bad under pressure. Like he just is. It took the Lions a long time to figure that out. They had in the first half and I guess just forgot in the second half. But yeah, so for the Chiefs, I would say Chris Jones. I mean, for the Niners, I don't know how you can say anybody but Christian McCaffrey. He might be the most talented player. I mean, okay, Patrick Mahomes. All right, fine. Other than Patrick Mahomes, he might be the most talented player on the field. And maybe he is more talented than Patrick Mahomes. He just doesn't get to touch the ball every play, so we don't know. You know what I'm saying? If he had 40 touches a game, I don't know if the 49ers would ever lose. Like, he is that special, that dynamic. I can't remember the last time we've seen a running back that's this good. There's some other names where guys have been the number 1 running back in the league, but they weren't this special. And so I think if the 49ers hand the ball off to him 20 times and he gets another 10 targets, I think he'll break the game open for the 49ers.
Shamar, what about you? I know when it comes to betting, you're always big on defensive props, so it'll be interesting to see whether your guy Fred Warner is dead on Sunday or he makes an impact. But what do you think? I mean, a guy for the Chiefs and the 49ers, who do you think could be some key X factors for the teams?
Chiefs, I'm going Kadarius Toney. No, I'm playing. Let's see. I don't know. I feel like they actually will be like, there's always a random receiver that just goes off. And I feel like that's going to be the case for the Chiefs. That's why I threw that name out there, but he's definitely probably not playing. So if I had to pick someone on the Chiefs who I think will just like dark horse kind of guy, I don't know, Scantling, man. Scantling, if he gets behind the defense, burns them, little two catch, 86-yard, 2-touchdown performance, that sounds like a Scantling game. He hasn't had a playoffs yet, so he's due for one. And then 49ers, I mean, obviously I love my boy Fred Warner, but their secondary is going to have to step up. They're usually terrible against the pass, and so I think I don't know if it's Ward that's on one of the sides of safeties or not, but one of the corners are going to have to be able to step up because Mahomes is going to have a lot of time to throw the ball. That line is solid, so I'm interested to see who steps up in the secondary to prevent Mahomes from doing what he does. So, yeah.
Yeah, speaking of Kadarius Toney, it's probably better for the Chiefs if he doesn't play because he led the NFL in drops pretty much this year. Corey, I was gonna go with Shamar. I think someone on the Chiefs offense other than Travis Kelce. I think maybe a guy like MVS, a guy who's played in big games with Aaron Rodgers and now with Patrick Mahomes. He may have to kind of be that supplemental role to Travis Kelce in order to have a big game. And for the 49ers, I'm going to go Deebo Samuel. I think obviously people talk about CMC, but you talk about what Deebo can do in the passing game and the receiving game and, of course, rushing. I mean, here's a guy, if a lot of attention's on CMC, maybe Kyle Shanahan dials up some schemes to get him going in both phases of the offense. So I'm going Deebo, of course, and a guy like MVS or one of the other receivers to supplement Travis Kelce.
Yeah, one more name I would throw in there on the defensive side of the ball. It's a guy they acquired in the middle of the season, and he's been what you would say is a huge disappointment. I think would be fair to say is Chase Young. I think a guy like him, Bosa will probably get his. The Chiefs, they have weak tackles. The middle of their line is actually good, their guards, but their tackles are pretty weak. So, it should be Bosa and hypothetically Young being able to feast a little bit with just 4-man. They don't necessarily blitz a lot. They just have those 4 down linemen come after the quarterback. So I'm looking for, is Chase Young going to actually show up? There was clips of him even out there on one of the runs where Jahmyr Gibbs had a touchdown and he's just literally walking like a foot behind him where he could tackle him and just walking behind him. So, if he's really the number 2 overall pick of a draft, that kind of guy, like the Commanders wasted their pick on him with, I want to see that. I want to see that happen and see if he can make an impact on this game and see if that was actually, a good move that the 49ers made going out there and getting him and bringing him into for a situation like this to pressure the quarterback to make the quarterback uncomfortable.
All right, guys. Well, we are nearly 20 minutes into the podcast, and we can finally talk about our favorite part of this podcast, and that is the bets. We're going to go into all kinds of bets for the game, prop bets, bets related to the game, maybe something off the field, whether it's, halftime show, national anthem, so on and so forth, and maybe even long shot bets, the ones that, obviously they're so crazy, it's probably not going to happen, but maybe you throw $1, you can win $100 or something like that. So, but Sam, let's first go to bets related to the game. Give me a couple bets that you think this is free money, sure cash. Doesn't matter what you're doing with your life. Create an account and put a bet on this. What are some surefire bets you would take on this game?
Yeah, the NFL is not so surefire, as anyone who's bet on the NFL knows. I do have a lock, but that's for later. If we're talking game bets, I mean, I know I'm a Debbie Downer, and this is so against my nature. Anyone knows me, but I really like the under in this one. I think the Chiefs defense is stout, so I don't see a 35-point game from the 49ers or even a 28-point game for the 49ers. I think they're going to be settling for field goals down that side of the field. And I mean, I've been on it all season. I don't trust a single wide receiver, even Rashid Rice. Kelce had a bum year. Granted, he had like 2 touchdowns on 115 yards for his sweetheart last week or whatever. But in general, this season, it was a down year for him, as anyone who had him in fantasy knows. So I just don't see the Chiefs being this powerhouse offense marching down the field a bunch of times either. I think both teams might focus on the run game, like 47.5. I mean, I would take the under. It's boring. I'm not an under guy. Last year was phenomenal. It was 38-35, the fireworks. We would love to see that, but smart money's on the under.
Shamar, how about you? You got any bets that stand out to you as like free money? You got to take it. And what do you think about the over-under? As Bassam mentioned, 47.5, he's going the under.
Yeah. So, I mean, my pick is definitely going to be Fred Warner tackles. That's my. I think Chiefs are. They run the ball. If they throw it short a lot of times. So Fred Warner's just there. Um, so I think his line. I think you just got to take the over and just let it ride. But I'm also with the Sam on that. I think the under is the Chiefs defense is going to give Brock Purdy a lot of problems. They're going to have to run the ball to be able to do what they want to do, and so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I like the under as well.
Corey, I think life's too short to bet the under. I am going with the over 47.5. A couple of bets that I like that are surefire bets I think you have to take. Obviously, you guys know Travis Kelce's my guy. I got to bet his receptions over 6.5 at minus 165. He had 11 receptions against the Ravens. This is the Super Bowl. His girl's going to take a flight from Tokyo and be there by game time. I think he's going to go off. You got to take over 6.5. I also like Kelce over 25 receiving yards in the first half. I mean, we all know he's going to be the main guy in that Chiefs offense, so he's got to have at least a couple catches over 25 yards. I think that's a safe bet. And I'm also going to go as another one, Mahomes over 4.5 rushing attempts. He has gotten 6 in the last 2 playoff games. I think, he's the guy that can scramble for a couple yards here and there. Obviously, he's not mobile like a Lamar Jackson, but I think his quickness and his ability to move around in the pocket is underrated. So I think those are 3 bets off the top of my head with the Chiefs. Kelce catches, first half receiving yards, and Mahomes rushing attempts that I like. How about you? Any bets that you think are locks, free money?
I actually have the same one that you had there, Billy. Mahomes over 4.5 attempts, and you didn't even hit on one of the main reasons I like that too. Is, you know, this isn't to say I think the Chiefs win, but if they are ahead late and they have the ball, 3 kneel downs count as 3 attempts right there, and then you would only need 2 scrambles the rest of the game. I like that. Mahomes over 4.5 attempts. One of the best money makers all year long for anyone has been Christian McCaffrey anytime touchdown. You'd have to lay a lot of juice. It's about minus 250. If you don't want to do that, one way I would even recommend too is taking his first half touchdown. Christian McCaffrey first half touchdown is plus 140. I think there's great value on that to go from minus 225, minus 250 down to plus 140 for the first half. You think if the 49ers get it anywhere inside the 5-yard line, it's Christian McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey. Like that's what they're doing. That's what they've done all year long. He's got 20 plus touchdowns. I like his first half touchdown plus 140. Another one I'll throw out there is, and this is kind of a off the radar type bet, but I think will work out well, is Kyle Juszczyk, over 4.5 receiving yards. Literally, you need this man to get 1 catch. Last week he had 2 catches for 33 yards. I think with, Chiefs maybe getting some pressure on Purdy, just a little dump off to him, that they like to use check, a lot of usage rates in blocking schemes and stuff like that. So I think just hitting them one time out of the backfield for 5 yards, I really like that bet a lot.
And then did you have an opinion on the over under 47.5? You think over? You think it's going to be tight under?
I would actually look for a live under opportunity. If you think about these 2 teams, really the past few games, if you think about the Chiefs especially, their scripted offense in the beginning is phenomenal. They came out and scored right away against the Ravens. They looked like world beaters. The first 2 drives I think was right down the field for 14 points, and then they scored 3 points the rest of the game. They didn't even score the second half. Even this entire year, that has been the formula for this Chiefs team. They are a great second half under team. I think there's something like 17-2 to the under in the second half. So I would look for a number. If say the Chiefs or the Niners score early on, if I can get a number over 50, 52.5, somewhere in there in that range, I would look to play the under there, because in the NFL, 48 and 49 are key numbers. You want to, that's a number that's the final score will land on a lot. So if I can get a number that's above that, I might be interested in taking a live under, something in the 50s at that point.
But Sam, 2 other prop bets that I have are centered around Deebo Samuel. I'd take his over catches 4.5. He had 8 against Detroit. I just think, like I talked about, he's the most dynamic player outside of CMC. I know Brandon Ayuk probably was the number one receiver this year, but I just think to change things up against the Chiefs, you're going to have to incorporate a guy like Debo. So I like over 4.5 catches. I also like over 80.5 receiving and rushing yards from Debo. He had this was at minus 115, but he had 89 receiving last game. So I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe he has a big run and he's able to get most of the total yards by himself, whether it's receiving or rushing. But I think if they use him as a combo, I think 80.5 is very doable. What do you think about those two bets? And do you have any other locks you want to throw out there?
Oh, I could not be more opposite than you on that one, Billy. I am not a Devo believer. I like Brandon Ayuk over the 4.5 catches. His line is plus 110. We're sitting at plus 110 right now. And I actually love Brandon Ayuk to have more receptions than Devo Samuel, plus 130, head-to-head prop. The last 5 games, the Lions game is the only game where Debo had more catches than Brandon Ayuk. I think he is the most talented receiver on the 49er side. Even if Debo gets the clout or gets the whatever, or gets the reputation, I think it is Ayuk. I think he's the deep threat. And I think he's more of a safety blanket than Debo Samuel is nowadays to Brock Purdy because Debo Samuel's not there. And my favorite point for why you should take Brandon Ayuk plus 130, more receptions than Debo Samuel. When Debo Samuel gets hurt in the first 2 minutes of the game because his hammy goes out, you basically won the bet as long as Ayuk catches the ball. So we know Ayuk's been a lot more durable than Debo. I'd have to go opposite than you on that one, Billy.
Shamar, how about you? You think any other props you want to throw out there? I know you mentioned Fred Warner for a defensive prop. You're Mr. Defensive Props himself. But yeah, any other props that you want to throw out there in terms of locks? Like this is free money. Doesn't matter if it's minus 300 odds. It's what you have to take.
Actually, one of my favorite ones that I like. It's pretty hefty. It's like close to minus 200, like minus 180. But it's running back to catch a first pass. CMC is minus 180. I don't think Pacheco catches a lot of balls. So all he needs is one dump down early to CMC, and we cash that check. So I'm definitely taking.
You gotta love a bet that cashes early. That's nice. Get that one out the way the first drive.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Cory,
so yeah, I think that. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Any props you have? Any other props?
No, I like that one a lot. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with.
Cory, I was gonna say a couple other ones I want to throw out there. I know Shamar is Mr. Defensive props. I'm a Mr. Kicking props. I actually like over 7.5 for Harrison Butker kicking points. He's shown throughout the playoffs he's had a big leg. Maybe you get lucky and he kicks one in the first half or kicks another one as time expires. So you get your 2 field goals right there. He's shown he's got a big leg. And I actually like under 7.5 for Jake Moody because he's a rookie kicker. The Niners invested. They drafted him in the 3rd round. It's the Super Bowl. I think he's going to be under a lot of pressure. So I think over Harrison Butker, under Jake Moody, especially if you get in a situation where the Niners are behind and they don't want to go for field goals. They want to go for it on 4th down. I would say those are where I would go with the kickers. Any other props you want to throw out there, or do you have any thoughts on obviously the 2 king props?
Yeah, so I have a Debo prop that I'm doing. I'm doing Debo rushing yards over 16.5. Last time in the Super Bowl, 3 carries for 53 yards. So if he can bust one around the end or something like that, I'm looking for Debo. I think he even gets all the carries as running back 2 in this game. If McCaffrey needs a breather, I think they're going to Debo rather than Elijah Mitchell. That's another reason why I'm taking Elijah Mitchell under 1.5 attempts. As long as he gets out there for just a snap, I think will be good. And as long as CMC can stay healthy. Now, if CMC gets banged up at the end of a game like he did against the Lions, then that's the only reason Mitchell cashed last week. But I think otherwise, I'm looking for him, CMC, to get pretty much, 85-90% of the carries. And when he isn't, I think it's going to be Debo. Kind of along those lines, too, I'm taking the over for the longest rush yards, rush attempt for both CMC and Pacheco. I think this is going to be a run-heavy Super Bowl, believe it or not. And, CMC all year long, he's been known for busting that one long run. He's 17.5 for his longest rush. He's got that in every playoff game, the first 2 playoff games so far. I don't see any reason why he doesn't do it again. Against the Chiefs defense that is great against the pass, but not so great against the run. And the same reason with Pacheco. He didn't get it last week against the Ravens, who have arguably the best defense in football. But the previous 3 weeks before that, he had a run over 15.5 yards. I'm going to take Pacheco as well. The similar situation where the Niners have been getting gashed on the ground recently. Aaron Jones had a long, like 50, 60-yard run against them. Jahmyr Gibbs last week and Montgomery, I think both would have hit that over for a longest rush against them. So I'm looking for Pacheco to break one long run. And then, Billy, I will throw in one kicking prop as well. It's not going to be the two that you took, but I'm going to take the longest field goal of the game over 47.5 yards. I think these are two coaches. The main reason I'm taking these are two coaches that aren't necessarily super aggressive, are going to go for it in kind of that territory there, like a Dan Campbell. If it's Butker out there and it's a 50-yard field goal and it's a 4th and 2, they're probably going to kick that because they trust Butker. They trust him to get it done. So I'm taking longest field goal over 47.5 yards.
That's actually interesting, Corey, because I was going to mention it in my long shot odds, but I've got a few there, so I'll mention it now. I did take the record for longest field goal in a Super Bowl to be broken. It's only 54, believe it or not. So I feel like, yeah, you get Butker out there, kicking you can obviously make a 55, 56 yarder. So I'm
Brand new
hoping,
Las Vegas Dome. So
That's
yeah,
right.
so hoping
Good kicking spot. You don't have to worry about the elements or anything like that. So
for sure. And then Bassam, obviously, if you have any other bets, throw it in there. Three that I wanted to mention. I think those are pretty good odds. You could take them at both teams to score 20+ points. This has cashed in the last 2 Super Bowls, so hopefully third time's a charm. And I think both these offenses are dynamic enough to where they can at least get 20 points, although that would be kind of cutting it close to the current over-under line. This, I think, one of your favorite bets. I'm surprised you hadn't mentioned it yet. Maybe you were about to. The score to be tied after 0-0. I think this is a pretty good bet. You get it to 7-7, 3-3. I think that's your best bet. And then also under 13.5 players to have a reception in the game is plus 125. I just think, we know how unreliable the Chiefs have been all regular season. It's going to be Kelsey. Obviously, the running backs, you're going to, dish it out. But I think, obviously the Niners, they've got the 3 main skill guys. I think the Super Bowl, the rotation is going to tighten. You're only going to trust a certain amount of guys. So I really like under 13.5 players to have a reception to cash a plus 125. What do you think about those bets? Any other ones you want to throw out there as good odds locks to take?
yeah, I also actually had the under 13.5 players to catch a pass. I don't think either of these teams are going to pull the Philly, especially. I mean, maybe the Chiefs, but that's. I think it's a fun bet. I think you start sweating when Juwan Jennings has a catch and Watson has a catch, and you're like, okay. But I think the rotation does tighten for both these teams. I like over 1.5 rushing touchdowns for the game. Combine both teams. I think you could easily get one from CMC. I think you can easily get one from Pacheco on the other side. My long shot bet for the day is actually CMC 150 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, I think he's going to get the 2 touchdowns. And then if the 49ers are leading at all, it would be malpractice. You just hand the ball to CMC 3 times and see if he can't keep turning like first downs. And I think an X factor for the 49ers, one guy we haven't even mentioned at all, but has just like etched himself in my memory, is George Kittle. 3.5 catches, get to 4. He was so blown after that last Super Bowl loss in 2020, and I just have it replay in my mind that he's just not going to take it laying down. He said they're going to get here again, and in fact they're here again, and it's the same matchup. And if he has anything to say about it, he's going to be snatching balls and taking them deep.
Speaking of that last Chiefs-Niners Super Bowl that happened in February 2020, and we had a pandemic a month later. So knock on wood, pray to God, we do not have another pandemic come up this year. Shamar, before we transition to off the field bets, any other on the field player props that you think are good odds? You'd put some money on it in terms of you think got pretty good chance of cashing.
I probably will take Rashee Rice receiving yards. The kid's phenomenal. He's been phenomenal down the last stretch. 49ers are getting smoked by Jared Goff, so I imagine he gets smoked by Patrick Mahomes. And Rashee Rice, he's been that. The 49ers are pretty decent when it comes to covering tight ends. So maybe Rasheed Rice will get more open. So I'll take his over to get 70 yards. And then some fun. I don't know if I have any other player props that I like. But yeah,
I can offer
I
a
do
lock
like
here
it.
since
Yeah, go
I
ahead,
didn't get
Bassam.
to put it in earlier. I think CMC to have the most rushing attempts and receptions combined, minus 200, is an absolute lock. If he does not get 30 touches or 20 carries and 10 targets, I mean, Kyle Shanahan should be fired. Like, that is the entire game plan. There is no better game plan. The Chiefs have an elite secondary and a very mediocre run defense. Minus 200 is like stealing candy from the baby. I mean, it's like, just snatch the candy, run out the casino. Don't think about the juice you're laying. Just take the free money.
And
That's
Corey,
fair.
I wanted to ask you about as we transition now to off the field bets. Obviously, this can include anything from like broadcast mentions to the national anthem, the coin toss, halftime show. I know you're usually a tails guy for the coin toss. Are you still sticking with tails? And what do you think about the national anthem? I actually don't know really anything about this national anthem singer this year, Reba McEntire. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing her name right. The line that I saw last time was 1 minute 31 seconds, which I think is pretty low because usually they'll have that line over closer to 2 minutes. So, what do you think? Any bets you want to toss out initially, and what do you think about coin toss and national anthem specifically?
Yeah,
Billy, you never watched any Reba? No
yeah,
Reba, Billy?
Reba's a classic,
On air for
classic,
6-7 years.
classic country singer.
Couldn't tell you anything about her.
No, it was funny. I actually saw a TikTok video too earlier of someone who was listening to her audition or whatnot, or was listening to like the beats per minute and did some kind of, formula out there and said it should finish at a minute and 22 seconds was their prediction. So that would be 9 seconds to the under if you're saying, 131 is the current line. Is that correct, Billy?
Yep.
All right, so might be some value on the under there. Who knows? Don't think it's going to be no Chris Stapleton rendition. That's arguably one of the best national anthems we've seen. But no, I think if we're talking about props that we like, some sort of these novelty props, one that I'd be looking at. I don't know if I can bet it on any of these official domestic books here, but I would look at "Yeah" to be the first song played by Usher. Just coming out to that, I think to set the tone. I would look at that. I don't know. What are some other ones you guys want to throw out there? One thing that they always mention in the past, which I got burned on last year. Pat McAfee is notorious for saying to take touchback or no touchback on the opening kickoff because the ball that they give you is a hard, almost like a rock, because it's immediately then sent to Canton. But then, of course, it was Harrison Butker kicking it off last year, and he sent an absolute boot through the end zone because he has an extremely just powerful leg. So usually that would be a play for good plus money, but I will not be on that this year because, it could be Butker again, just kicking it right through the uprights, even with a rock. So I don't know. What are you guys thinking?
Well, but Sam, I was gonna say, I took this last year in a cash. I'm gonna take it again. How many times will Roger Goodell be shown? I'm going under 1.5 times at even money. I just think there's gonna be so many celebrities at the game. He is the commissioner, to be fair, but they don't got time to cut to him more than once. So I think I'm gonna go under 1.5 for that. And then also, will any scoring drive take less than the national anthem? I'm going no for plus 160, especially if this national anthem takes 2 minutes. I think unless, granted, there are players in this game that can, kind of break off a great run like CMC or Deebo Samuel, but I like my chances of no for any scoring drive taking less time than whatever the final number on the national anthem is. So what do you think about those bets? Any other ones you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I like team to receive the opening kickoff, San Francisco 49ers, minus 105. I think the Chiefs, the strength of their team is the defense, so I don't think Andy would have any problem deferring. And then if you're the 49ers, I don't think you want to be playing behind the Chiefs at any point in the game. So I imagine Kyle Shanahan has a game plan. He's had 2 weeks of study. He's an offensive mastermind. I'm sure he would take the ball first, and I'm pretty confident Andy Reid would want to defer the second half. He'd want to come out strong then, especially with them not even scoring in the second half last week or 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, 49ers. They're going to get the ball first. You heard it here first.
Shamar, what do you think about Usher as the halftime show? Usually the line is 9.5 for over/under songs. You're already shaking your head. So, what do you think about Usher halftime show? And any other bets you want to throw out there?
And will there be a Taylor Swift appearance on stage? I don't. She's probably going to be in the building. You know what I'm saying? Biggest superstar.
Yeah, I don't know about anything about Usher, but I will say, give me a line where Travis Kelce proposes to Taylor Swift, because that is happening, boys. I'm calling it.
No, it is not.
It's set up. It's set up.
I think the line was plus 205. Will any
Give me
player
it. I'll take it.
propose to their girlfriend?
No way.
It's happening. So happening. I'm telling you, it's still happening. It'll be the biggest story of all time. Everything is still happening.
What's Taylor gonna say? What's she gonna say? Is this love story real? Or is Travis Kelce just gonna end up like every other boyfriend, one of her song lyrics?
Yikes. I don't know, but yeah, give me that line all day. And then I don't know, Usher, Loving This Club will probably be one of the songs. Give me the odds on that. Or not Loving This Club. Is it that, or is it Dance Floor? Something like that. I don't know. I don't know anything about Usher. But
yeah, Love Is This Club is one of the songs, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the one I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of something else. Anyways, what other? Give me Purple Gatorade. I don't know why.
Purple Gatorade, the grape flavor. Okay.
I'm just feeling it.
There's no purple in either of these teams, though. I mean, that is a bold call.
But I don't feel like they wouldn't do red, because that's just going to blend in with the jersey. But I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out of the box.
I heard some insight, which I don't know how true it is again either. This is my TikTok world telling me all these sorts of bets and whatnot. But it was talking about how trainers, they typically do the color Gatorade based upon what color jersey the team is wearing. So if it's a white jersey, they're not going to do red or orange or anything like that. Or if they spill it with stain on it, they would do something like, the purple or a clear or whatnot. But if it is red, if they are wearing the red jerseys, then sure, you could drink red or whatnot. So you have to factor in who you think might actually be winning. Who would actually be winning, and what jerseys they're wearing. So
isn't there some crazy stat about the team with the white jersey always winning? Like, I don't know, some ridiculous number over the last 17 Super Bowls.
I've seen that. It's like 13 out of the last 15. Yeah, it's kind of bad, but I don't know. But I will say this. I actually saw a bet, speaking of kickoffs, not kickoff, but punt. The first punt to be a fair catch is plus 225. I'm taking that. Bruh, you're telling me they're not going to do – when are they doing a punt return? Who's back there? Like, these guys are always fair catching and everything. Give me the plus 200 odds on that. What else? I don't know any other off fields. I think that's it.
Well, I'm going with heads for coin toss. That's I always go heads. So I'm gonna stick with that. But let's go then to I think what's gonna be the most enjoyable maybe part of this, and that's the long shot prop bet. So this is anything,
Yes.
We'll talk about. Shamar always loves talk. To be fair, Shamar has won a $1 to win 1,000 parlay, so he's got street cred in terms of hitting these long shot prop bets. So I mean, I'll say really anything. It can be anything, but when I think of long shot, I think plus 500 or above. But that's typically a goal line I go to. So Cory, you want to rattle off a few any long shot prop bets stand out to you?
One that I'm literally on FanDuel right now looking through some, and one that I just put $1 on is will there be a scoregami? Yes, is plus 2,500. There's been several this year. The only reason I know is I follow Jake Marsh on Twitter. He's a Barstool guy. He takes a picture with every scoregami that happens. And there's been about 5 or 6 this year, which is like way more than usual. I think it's because you see teams doing 2-point conversions more often than not than they have in the past. So I'm gonna throw $1, hopefully make 25 on a scoregami. Yes, and for those who don't know, a scoregami is a unique score that has not happened at all in NFL history. So we're looking for something like, I don't know, 39 to 25 or something like that. So we're going for scoregami. Yes, plus 2,500. Another unique one to maybe throw out there: will any player record an octopus. If you don't know what an octopus is, the same player gets scores a touchdown and the 2-point conversion on the same drive. That's plus 980. That's something that's a little fun. It did happen last year actually with Travis Kelce. Just to put that out there, but that's another kind of fun one. Long shot, not expecting it to hit, but throw some change on there and see what happens.
But Sam, two that I want to throw out there initially, Travis Kelce, 11 plus receptions. That is plus 125.
Sheesh.
Plus 525. He had 11 against the Ravens, so I don't think it's out of the picture.
You might as well, Billy, at that point, you might as well take him to have the catching record. I think that's juiced over 1,000 or 2,000. He'd only have to get 4 more. 15 receptions would be a new Super Bowl record. People think Kelce might do it for a sweetheart.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other one would be Deebo Samuel and Travis Kelce. I know you're not a big Deebo guy, but to combine for 200 receiving yards, I mean, if Kelce gets 200, you get it automatically, but that's another one that's plus 525. What do you think about those?
Maybe Kelce gets 11 receptions, but I don't think Deebo's going to be helping you get to 200 yards. I could be wrong. If Deebo goes off for 8 catches, 112, I'll admit I was wrong. But just don't be coming at me when he gets injured in the first quarter. Like 6 minutes in the game, runs into the turf and just collapses and has to be carted off the field. That's all I'm saying. This doesn't meet your long shot criteria, but I know my boy Shamar agrees with me. CMC plus 450 to win Super Bowl MVP is value. He arguably could have been the MVP of the entire season. I know it's a quarterback award, so they're not going to give it to him, and Lamar played good. But CMC is special. Once again, I think he might even be better than Patrick Mahomes. If you want to play the MVP a little safer, anybody but Mahomes to win to take Mahomes versus the field for MVP, it's minus 150 for the field. So if the 49ers win, you automatically win that bet. Even if the Chiefs win, there's a chance that it's the Travis Kelce game, or there's a chance that Jones had 3 sacks, including a strip fumble, 6 or something. So safe way to play the MVP, or a little bit riskier if you want some juice, if you don't want to be laying any juice.
Shamar, give us your long shot prop bets. I know you got a few queued up. What are some you're definitely taking? You're gonna throw $1, hopefully win a couple $100.
Well, I'm obviously got to go my boy Fred to catch an interception plus 1,300. He's gonna be covering Travis.
Our boy Fred,
like 15 targets. All we need is Travis Kelce to slip on one play, and he's got that interception. I'll take the odds on that plus 1,300. Another one that I don't feel great in it, but I'm like could happen. I'm taking Justin Watson to have 4 catches for plus 700. The dude has every now and then has a random 4-catch, 5-catch game. I don't know, man. It could happen. Plus 700. I put a $5 on it. See what it takes me. And I probably will do some other ones like catching interception. I like L'Jarius Sneed. I don't know. I forgot what the line was. I know it's up there plus 600, 700. But I think he'll be the ball will be going to Ayuk a lot. And all Sneed needs to do is just if the 49ers are down, Sneed might be right there. So those are my long shots for right now. I'll probably have 1,000 more queued up sooner or later, but those are definitely the ones I like the most.
I'll add in. Yeah. I'll add in one more that I have is Brock Purdy to have a rush of 20 yards or more plus 700.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
He had that last game, and we saw him at the end of the game, trust his feet a little more to take off and run when his first couple of reads weren't there. And I think, it could be the same thing this game, hopefully. Hopefully he saw that, saw the green grass in front of him, takes off and runs if the situation calls for it. Obviously you don't think of Brock Purdy as a scrambler, but, like I said, he did it last game on those big drives down the stretch against the Lions. I think he might trust his feet a little more if the first couple of reads aren't there, and hopefully he can break one for 20 yards.
But Sam, a couple other bets I wanted. Oh, go ahead, Shamar. Yeah, you have some?
Bruh, they got this dude Fred Warner, most tackles and assists plus 310. Give me that all day. Plus
He's
310?
definitely a tackling machine, and arguably one of
Come on,
the
man.
best linebacker in the sport. Like he's up there.
Yeah. All right, I ain't mean to interrupt, but yeah, that's a steal.
Well, but Sam, a couple other long shot prop bets I wanted to throw out there. I want to throw. I'm going to throw $1 on Super Bowl combined team record of 75 points broken. I almost had it last year, but James Bradbury doesn't hold there, and maybe the game goes a different way. I'm going yes for plus 1,200. Will both teams? This is not a long shot, but I like both teams converting a fourth down for plus 185. I think especially if it gets to the second half. Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan, maybe they're behind. They might want to be aggressive. I think they go for a fourth down. You've got enough skilled offensive players to convert fourth down, so I'm taking that. And then two that I know you and Shamar especially will get a kick out of. I always like these kind of cross-sport bets that Bovada does, but you're talking about either Travis Kelce to score the first touchdown or Shea Gilgeous-Alexander to have the first basket against the Kings on the Thunder's basketball game. February 11th, the same day as the Super Bowl. He just SGA basically to score the first basket. That's only plus 145. I'm definitely taking that. And then the other one, but Sam, because I know you follow politics pretty closely. I am taking CMC to have more receiving yards in the Super Bowl than Joe Biden's approval rating March 1st. That's only minus 120. CMC, please get me 40 receiving yards. I think that's safe. I think I would definitely get it. CMC gets me 40 receiving yards. We all know Joe Biden ain't having a 40% approval rating. Give me that bet. CMC, more receiving yards than Joe Biden's approval rating on March 1st, 2024. What do you say about any of those bets? Any other ones you want to throw out there?
I mean, that last one is a decent bet. That's a good one. CMC's a stud. Joe Biden is meh. Just gonna put it there. But I had this moment last year. I'm gonna do it again. I absolutely forbid the betting public to take over 70 or 75 or whatever number you spewed out of your mouth points in this game. Kansas City hasn't scored more than 27 since November. Their offense just is not some sort of powerhouse that's going to put up 30, 35, 40. And that 31 they put up was against the Raiders. Okay, Raiders ain't some sort of stud defense. I mean, end of the season they turned it up a little bit, but no way. And I mean, come on. The Chiefs defense is elite. Like they've been a championship defense all year. The 49ers aren't going to put up 30 either. If either of these teams get 30, it'll be like garbage time. They're just messing around. They get in the end zone. Like it's not going to happen. I'd rule that out immediately. And if we're just pulling it back a little bit to more realistic bets that I think our viewers can actually hit, I like MBS to have 2 catches. I think Mahomes is going to feel pressure to get the ball down the field. I like Pacheco under 16.5 rushing attempts. I think they're going to try to put the ball in Mahomes' hands. There is this GOAT status around him. They're going to want him to shine and win Super Bowl MVP. And I don't think they're just going to let it be on Pacheco this win. And I love the Purdy 20 rushing yards. Right now I'm seeing his longest rushing attempt over 8.5. I think that's a fantastic line. Minus 105. You don't need to lay any juice. I think he's going to rush for a first down at some point in the game.
Shamar, I was curious because Bassam already answered this partially with CMC. Would you take any non-QB players to win Super Bowl MVP? I mean, we talked about it, all the great skilled offensive players. So I feel like this is a Super Bowl where, if there's a good chance a QB doesn't win the MVP, especially on the 49ers side, there's been all this talk Brock Purdy is just a game manager. I feel like this is one Super Bowl where you may have a legitimate shot of someone not a QB win the MVP. What do you think? Are there any players that you would take that if they have decent odds, say, hey, throw a few bucks on it, I think they could win the MVP?
Well, I mean, I hope not. My bank account will suffer. I'm already got Mahomes locked in. But yeah, I feel good about CMC as well. If I had to pick someone else other than CMC or Mahomes, I don't know. I guess Kelce, but that just feels like a cliche answer. I don't know. Maybe some crazy defensive player will go off or something, but I can't see it. There's only 2 MVPs I see coming out of this. It's either going to be Mahomes or CMC because, to be honest, Purdy is not throwing on that defense. So it's going to be we're going to see. We're going to see for sure.
Cory, what do you think? I mean, any guys you think could have a realistic shot? Because I always think to the example of, maybe a quarterback has a good game, but he throws 2 interceptions, and then you have a guy like Travis Kelce who has, 9 receptions for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think that elevates a guy like that's chances to win the MVP. So, are there any non-QB players rather you think might have a decent shot at winning the MVP?
I've always said, especially for the Chiefs this year, if you think the Chiefs are going to win, you should just bet Mahomes MVP. Like if the Chiefs win this game, Mahomes is getting MVP. I mean, we saw that even the last time these two teams met. Damian Williams had 3 touchdowns that game. He had the game clinching touchdown, a long run, and Mahomes still won MVP. Like it's just a vote where these whoever the voters are in the media there, they know the name Mahomes. They see him. They're just going to give it to him if the Chiefs win. And then I think it's a 2-man race for the 49ers. It's going to be Purdy or it's going to be CMC. I don't really see. People want to get creative and throw all these long shot odds out there. The one, I guess, instance where I say, you could do that is with a defensive player. I think going a defensive player rather than a guy like Kelsey or Debo or Kittle or something like that. I would rather go a defensive player. If you have a pick six to win the game or something like that, you have a fumble six, something crazy like that happens. Is one of the only ways that I think you see, one of those Purdy, Mahomes, or CMC win the MVP. And that's just throwing a dart at the board and picking, which defensive guy am I going to do for that? I can't even really give you a good recommendation because it could be literally anyone.
I still think I don't know, man. I mean, Travis Kelce, his girl is gonna be there if the Chiefs win. Which, by the way, I don't think Travis Kelce's proposing if the Chiefs lose. I mean, that's only happening if they end up winning the game. You never know. I mean, again, if he has a line like I said, 9 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, who knows? He may have a shot. But
who's throwing it to him though in that scenario?
Yeah, that's true, Patrick Mahomes. But maybe if he has 2 picks, you never know. I mean, I think I agree.
Danny Amendola. Or was it Julian Edelman? Julian Edelman.
Yeah. So
even that year they came back. James White had 3 touchdowns, the game winning touchdown, the game tying 2-point conversion, and it was still Brady just because it's Brady's name. I think it's the same way with Mahomes.
Well, that's definitely a good point to put there. Well, guys, we are nearly an hour into the podcast, and let's put our money where our mouth is, as if we haven't been doing that this whole podcast, and predict the game. Give me a score. Give me an MVP. And do you think the spread is ultimately covered? I don't know if we explicitly said it, but I believe last I saw the Niners are -2. So, some people may say that's surprising, because Niners are probably the better team, but Mahomes is Mahomes. For context, last year when we did this with a group of 4 of us for the first time, Shamar, me, and Cory correctly predicted the Chiefs to win, but Sam was on the losing side with the Eagles. But again, it was such a good game, could have gone either way. So Shamar, you the young guy, we'll go to you first. Give me a score, give me the MVP, and obviously with your score, we'll see if they end up covering the spread. Niners currently -2.
I got let's see, the Chiefs winning for sure. Patrick Mahomes MVP, and I'm trying to do the math on this. I feel like it's going to come down to like the Chiefs winning this game off a 2-point conversion not being converted. So I guess I would say, I don't know how scores work. Maybe like a 24-22 type game. Someone missed the extra point, some dumb like that. So I'm gonna go 24-22, puts it right at the 46 mark for the people on the under. That's a good I think that'll be what it is.
All right, so Shamar's going Chiefs. Cory, who do you got winning? And of course, give me the MVP as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think a great matchup here of 2 teams that deserve to be here. But I don't know. I think there's just too much to be said about, I had kind of mentioned it earlier, about this just feeling like everything's sort of coming together after they've had bad luck in the past, the 49ers. I feel like this year they've overcome some of that. They've won games that they didn't deserve to. And, if you would have told me these 2 teams were playing in the playoffs or playing in the Super Bowl, in December, you would have said the line for this game is Niners -6, -7 probably. The Chiefs were reeling. The Niners looked like the most dominant team in football. I still think they are the better team. You know, Mahomes, I think, makes up for a lot of wrongs with that offense. I think they still, you even look at them last week against the Ravens. Once the Ravens defense figured them out, they punted the last 8 drives of that game. If Lamar just didn't turn the ball over, and if Zay Flowers just didn't turn the ball over there, the Ravens still win that game despite playing, a C effort, you would probably say, from them. So I think, all of that to say the Niners are going to come out, run the football against this team. That is their strength. That is the Chiefs' weakness. I think the defense actually shows up for a little bit, because I think, that they're going to put a precedent on, stopping Kelsey, stopping Rice, and making someone else beat them. I don't think the Chiefs have a guy that can beat them other than those two. Through the air, Mahomes has been great all year long. I just think it's something about this Niners team this year getting it done in the Super Bowl. After like I said, the disappointment of the last few years, I have Niners 27-20. So covering the spread, obviously, right at that under 47.5, 47 points there. I don't even actually I didn't actually even have to bet on this game from a side perspective going into it, because in the middle of the season, I bet on NFC to be the winning conference for the Super Bowl. This was back when the Eagles were rolling. This was back when the Cowboys were rolling and the Niners were obviously rolling. We see how those other two teams went. This was also back when the Bills weren't really a dominant team. The Chiefs weren't a dominant team at the time. Really, it was looking at the Ravens as the only team on the AFC side. So I had bet at the time minus 120 for the NFC to win the Super Bowl. And what do you know? Those are the exact odds for the 49ers in the Super Bowl, basically minus 120 for the money line. So I didn't even need to put in a bet. I'm just riding with that. But that's how I think I would bet it anyways, is Niners money line. I don't want to mess with the -2 or whatnot in case they do have a score like Shamar said. But in the Niners' favor, I just want to get money line, lay the juice a little bit there, and take Kyle Shanahan to have his first Super Bowl. We'll go with CMC as the MVP. I think, like we've talked about, this is a chance for him to have a huge game. I think at least 2 touchdowns for him, 100 yards or so. I think they'll give it to CMC. He's kind of the more valuable name, I guess you would say, over Brock Purdy.
So Cory is going with the 49ers, but Sam, you got Chiefs or 49ers?
Yeah, I don't think this is particularly close. I think it's the 49ers. I think they're the better team. I honestly think the Chiefs were not the better team in either of their previous 2 games. I think they came out to a hot start against the Ravens and then couldn't do a thing in the second half. If the ball isn't turned over by the Ravens practically on the goal line, I think they would have tied it up, and who knows what would have happened. The Chiefs' offense was just anemic in that second half, and clearly the defense held the Ravens like pretty securely. Like that, I got to give them credit where credit's due. But I think the Ravens are a better team, all in all. And I think the Bills were a better team than the Chiefs by the end of the season. Not the whole season, not even half the season, but by the end of the season, And so the Chiefs' defense is lauded, and they've done their job, But they won the last 2 games by 1 possession. And the 49ers have obviously had some close games too. But I think Kyle Shanahan's going to figure out this Chiefs defense. Like, I think if anybody on the planet, given 2 weeks, he's probably been studying them all playoffs, but at least for these 2 weeks, dedicated to come up with a game plan. This is his moment. I think he's as creative as Andy Reid, if not more creative than Andy Reid. And I think he's going to figure something out that's going to work. And I think it's going to be very CMC focused. And another thing we haven't talked about on this podcast today, but maybe I'm a sucker. I believe in this 49ers D-line, okay? Like, they have spent $61.1 million building this D-line. You got Bosa and Chase Young and Hardgrave and Armstead, and, the list goes on and on, like studs. Fred Warner, obviously, best linebacker in the league when he's not dead. But they got the weapons, and clearly the last 2 weeks they got run on, and there wasn't necessarily that much pressure, but they were facing the Lions O-line, which is the second best O-line according to PFF. Penei Sewell is a monster. And even the Green Bay O-line is a top 10 O-line, and the Chiefs is not there. The Chiefs is not the same caliber. They invested in the defense, and it's paid off, but the O-line is not there. And the year that Mahomes got wiped, absolutely destroyed in the Super Bowl was against Tom Brady, was against that Tampa D line where they just got after him and got after him and got after him. And obviously the line was banged up, but they scored like 9 points that year. Like, I think this D line has even more talent than the Vita Vea, JPP, whatever line that the Bucks are putting out there. So I hope they're smart enough to rush 5 and not just 4. I hope they actually bring it, because that's going to win them the game, in my opinion. I think they're going to show up and take the game over. I wouldn't be surprised if Bosa has 2 sacks. And Chase Young was obviously a bum for the Commanders, but he's got real talent around him here at the 49ers. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got in there for a sack too. And so, yeah, I think the 49ers do it. I think CMC has the day of his life, the day that we all know he's had it several times this season, like a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, and 150 scrimmage yards. Like, that would not be like, who else could we say that about? And we're just like, oh yeah, they could just go for 150 and 2 touchdowns. Like, it is CMC. I think he'll win the Super Bowl MVP. But things have just been going right for the 49ers recently too. And the last reason I'll just leave you guys with this, why you should bet the 49ers, is the casinos never lose. 70% of the money is on the Chiefs, and the line hasn't moved even an ounce. It hasn't moved to 1.5. It hasn't moved to 1. They're still plus money, even though 70% of the money is coming in on them. That's because the casinos want you to bet the Chiefs. Actually. Yep, they want you to. The casinos want you to line up and bet the Chiefs in groves, because they know that talent-wise, maybe even coaching-wise, the 49ers have the edge. And so give me 49ers. I had the score written down here, 23-17, hits the under, covers the spread, whatever you want to do, however you want to bet those things, give me the 49ers. Shanahan brings it home.
Yeah, and what you're mentioning there too, Bassam, is when you say 70% of the picks are on the Chiefs, but the line hasn't moved. That's because all of the big money bettors, the sharp bettors, are on the 49ers. It's even gone in the 49ers direction, even though all of the public is on the Chiefs. So I think there's good reason to believe and trust those smart people too with the Niners.
All I'm saying is, last time we saw a Shanahan at coach and a McCaffrey at a skill position, Super Bowl, baby. I think the Shanahan-McCaffrey duo does it again.
So Cory and Bassam with some great analysis there on why they're going with the 49ers. Shamar, just to recap, is going with the Chiefs. So I have the opportunity to either tip the scales for the 49ers or make this a tiebreak with the Chiefs. And, I was thinking a lot about this. I do agree that the Niners are probably on paper the better team. They've really been tested throughout the playoffs. Probably should have lost to Green Bay. Definitely should have lost to the Lions when they were down 24-7. But Brock Purdy, give him credit. He made enough plays to lead San Francisco to the win. Kyle Shanahan is, of course, one of the best coaches in the game. But I said it last year, and I'll say it again, quoting my guy Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And right now, the man is Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to go 41-38 Chiefs. I think this is going to surprise everybody. It's going to be the highest scoring Super Bowl of all time. I believe Patrick Mahomes. It's like the Brady effect. Remember back in the day, we're like, oh, we're going to keep betting against Brady. And then he always found a way to win. And even when he lost against a team like the Eagles, he still had 500 yards. It certainly wasn't his fault that, they lost. I just think Patrick Mahomes is on a mission. It was supposed to be a down year for the Chiefs. They weren't even supposed to be here, but they found a way. They beat the Bills. They beat, unfortunately, the Ravens in Baltimore. I just think Mahomes has been able to do it all season long. He's going to find a way, win his 3rd ring. Chiefs will be the first repeat champion in almost 20 years. I'm going Travis Kelce to win the Super Bowl MVP. I think he gets 3 touchdowns, 150 yards for Taylor Swift. I'm going out there, but I'm picking the Chiefs ultimately. 41-38, Travis Kelce is the Super Bowl MVP. So there you go. We're 2-2. I can't believe I'm with Shamar. We're picking the Chiefs. And Cory and Bassam picking the Niners. I know Shamar is even laughing because he can't believe it, but I believe in the Chiefs.
They have clutched up in the playoffs.
Congrats, Cory and Bassam. Y'all won. Me and Bill lost.
I do want to close out the podcast because you guys have been so gracious with your time with one final question, kind of related to football. Not related to football. Actually, the same question for Bassam and Shamar, but a different one for Cory. Cory, as we're, a week into February, who would you say is your pick to win the NCAA tournament for the men's? I know you a college basketball aficionado. Cory, basketball CBB, that's what I call it. So what do you think? Who wins the college basketball championship?
I'll give a unique team because they're in the top 5, but I think, everyone is kind of leaning towards a number of other differences. I'm going to say Tennessee. I think this year, the thing with Tennessee in the past, they've always had a dominant defense, but they cannot score the basketball, and they go through long droughts where they cannot score the basketball. This year, they have a guy by the name of Dalton Connect, and he might be the best just go-to scorer in the country. He averages over 20 a game. They scored 103 the other night against Kentucky on the road in Lexington. I really like the makeup of this Tennessee team. It worries me because they are kind of known, March choke artists. Rick Barnes does not have a good reputation, their coach, in March. But I'm going to put my trust in this Tennessee team. I think they're a veteran team as well, which I like a lot. Their 2 guards are, I think juniors or seniors, maybe even 5th-year seniors. Vescovi and Ziegler. They've been around a long time. They've played deep runs, just an important basketball that you play in March. So I'm gonna go with Tennessee. I think they're about 5th or 6th in the country right now, but not a lot of people are on them. Give me the Volunteers.
And Shamar, we know you the NBA aficionado. Who do you think wins the NBA championship right now? Obviously, trade deadline was today. Not a lot of big moves made. Buddy Hield did notably get traded to the Sixers, but you've got obviously the Bucks are going through a coaching change. Doc Rivers, trying to coach Dame and Giannis. The Sixers are going to lose Embiid for a significant amount of time. You've got the Nuggets looking strong again. They may repeat. I don't think they're going to be a factor, but obviously anytime you have LeBron on the Lakers, they're going to get a lot of attention. The Clippers with, James Harden and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, I think they're looking really good right now. So who's your NBA Finals champion right now if you had to predict?
Yeah, I mean, I got a future going on the Clippers. So I'm definitely picking them. I mean, we got 4 MVP caliber players, 3 starting on the court. Russell Westbrook coming off the bench. You got people who have been stars in the league coming off the bench, and Norman Powell. They don't even have Zubac, which I think he's the worst center, but he somehow produces. He's out there. He's not even playing right now, and they're still going off, so maybe that's why. I mean, they're just from top to bottom, deep bench. I say it all the time. When you get to the NBA Finals, all 5 starters are usually pretty great. It comes down to who's got the better bench most of the time. So I think the Clippers got it for sure. But yeah, we'll see. The West is loaded. But yeah, I'll pick them. It ain't gonna be the Bucks. They're trash and defense. So yeah.
Shamar, I hate to make you.
Money.
Yeah, I hate to make you cash out your future, but I also think the Clippers win the championship right now. So why do we agree so much all of a sudden? So,
that's a lost bet.
But Sam, what do you think about that? I was going to ask you about NBA. Obviously, you a LeBron fan, you an Embiid fan. Unfortunately, Lakers aren't looking too hot, and Embiid's going to be out for a good portion of the season. Maybe he can come back, but I still, even with him there, I wouldn't put him over the Bucks or the Celtics in the East. Who do you think, though? Who do you think wins the NBA championship as of right now?
Oh man, that's tough. You're right. For the record, I don't think LeBron is the GOAT. Just kind of clarify, it's still MJ. Although, if LeBron somehow beats this talent in the West, makes it to the finals, and wins it all this year, somehow you'd have him given GOAT status. That'd be another impressive showing. But yeah, it's tough. I think it's time for the East to win. The Golden State Warriors had, obviously many years there last year. The Nuggets, with the Serbian missile shooting Nikola Jokic, who shoots the ugliest ball you've ever seen, but it always goes in, kind of basketball style. He made it through. So I agree. It's not the Bucks. The defense is bad. That's what happens when you trade Drew Holiday, an all-time defender, for Damian Lillard, who's a gem, but no D. I think you have to go with the Celtics. It almost pains me to say that. I'm not, as a Lakers kind of guy at the moment, thanks to my boy LeBron. Don't want to see the Celtics win another ring, but that is a complete team. The coaching's great. The depth is fantastic. I think Kristaps Porzingis was probably the most underrated offseason acquisition. I mean, maybe James Harden was the best acquisition because you can see what the Clippers are doing with him. He hasn't missed a game all season. But other than that, I think Porzingis, they made the most. They picked up Drew Holiday. They made the most of the offseason, even though they were already a stacked team. And so Jason Tatum and Brown have some experience in the playoffs now under their belts. Like, I think this is the year they win the East and they win it all. I think they'll have to blow it up soon because it's second apron and stuff like that. So new CBA rules. So yeah, Celtics. And for the record, in other basketball news, Hokie ladies winning after one quarter against NC State. They are in the biggest game of their season at the moment. So go Hokies.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely be tuned on
Indiana
that game.
women get done.
What'd you say, Shamar?
Wasn't Indiana women, speaking of women. Bro, telling me right.
And if you want, I mean, if you want to save NCAA women's basketball future, I mean, take South Carolina to win it all. They look absolutely phenomenal. They probably should have won it all last year if it wasn't for the LSU coach being a crazy mad woman who gets the job done. Yeah, SoCo winning it all probably.
I'm with that one. They're like plus 230 too.
Amore with a big three. Let's go.
For sure. Well,
My
thank you so
laptop.
much. So much to the Betting Mafia, Cory Van Dyke, Bassam Ghali, and Shamar Parker for joining me on my favorite podcast of the year, previewing the Super Bowl and making our predictions for prop bets. Enjoy Super Bowl 58, everybody. Me and Shamar are going with the Chiefs. Cory and Bassam are going with the 49ers. We thank everybody so much for joining us. Enjoy the Super Bowl, all the sports coming up, and we'll see you next time.